I don't just know Jesse Ventura, who I met with 4.5 years ago and gave my videos, and that woke him up, and he's talked about that. Now look at the effect he's having, reaching tens of millions. It's not just Charlie Sheen that I woke up when his brother Emilio Estevez, who's really the guy that first knew about this stuff, listened to me for more than 10 years, woke him up. And, you know, I talk to Emilio on the phone routinely, you know, and he doesn't come on the show, and I'm not criticizing him for that. But the point is he works quietly from behind the scenes. I've been at dinners with the biggest people in Hollywood, even bigger than Charlie Sheen, bigger than Jesse Ventura, the biggest names. And they say, and of course I don't sit there at the dinner table and ask them for money. Maybe that's what I should do. People making millions of dollars a week. I'm here to the little people saying support us, and maybe that is a good idea. But the issue is the biggest names in the country. The biggest names. And then I was talking to the TV producer, Michael Braverman, for Ventura's TV show, and he said, yeah, I've been meeting with some of the biggest names, but they're scared to go public. And I said, let me guess those names. Brad Pitt? Yeah, that's one of them. Okay, well, what about Bruce Willis? Yeah, how do you know all this? Well, I know who's awake. I woke Bruce Willis up. But you don't see Bruce Willis on this show. Bruce just said, I'm done. I'm not supporting Republicans anymore. The same people that killed Kennedy killed our economy and are still in control. People didn't believe it when I was told that by Linkletter on air, who gave him my films and woke him up. And since I've got more, I'm not going to get into it. The point is I confirmed it. Then he came out in Vanity Fair 6 months later and said word for word what we'd said on the show. So at least Bruce isn't supporting the right-wing fake arm of it. But, I mean, if I told you the other names, you know, I know Keanu Reeves, totally awake. I know Woody Harrelson, totally awake. These are names I can say. The other names are literally, and this is what I've also been told, David, and I've been told this to my face, and I've been told this by Braverman on air. This is Michael Braverman, produced some of the biggest TV shows in the country. He said there's a mafia, basically, in Hollywood. And I've had private discussions with him as well where he repeats it in more detail, but I won't get into it. He said Steven Spielberg rules Hollywood and has connections to all the big production houses. So does Jerry Bruckheimer. And if they don't like you, they will shut you down. And he said this on air. And he said it about Spielberg. And he explained it. He said they want you to be left-wing or they want you to be right-wing, part of that fake control paradigm.
Right.
But they said there is a revolution, and I've already seen this, in Hollywood where they almost all see it. Every TV production crew I know somebody worked on Lost. They said they watch my show every day. They're obsessed with it. That was Mike Rivera worked on it. Everyone I talked to, Dancing with the Stars, American Idol, they're watching my show in their green rooms, in their dress-up rooms. They are literally on fire, and and look what they did with Charlie Sheen, how they set him up, lied about him, did all that stuff to try to shut him up. Then they had a producer. And I talked about this at the time, but was told not to talk about all of it because it was private. But Cuban, the owner of one of the big production houses, Cuban was told, shut up. The SEC, Securities and Exchange Commission, called him, David, and also sent him an email. And I was told this at Charlie Sheen's house, and I was on the phone while they were on the phone. Okay, I mean, I was witnessing this on speakerphone and couldn't talk about it for a year. And they were told, we are going to criminally indict you if you put Loose Change Final Cut out in theaters. We're going to criminally indict you. Here I'd pumped $100,000 in. I was trying to get a bigger budget, have Charlie voice it, and that all fell through because then one of the other producers at the major distributor, not the producer, Cuban, but the distributor, I'm not going to say the name because they don't want it out there, they were told, and I was in other meetings with Nick Cassavetes and all of them, they were called. And one of the people's sisters was married to a top general. I'm going to leave it at that. They were told, do you like your kids being safe? Because they're going to get killed if you do this. I have been in super high-powered Hollywood meetings where people's children are being threatened. And then it came out in the New York Times a year later. I couldn't talk about it. I said Cuban was threatened. That he was sent an email, and it was published, and a phone call. We're going to destroy you, Cuban. And it turned out he didn't do the insider trading for a paltry sum. He's like worth $5 billion. It was like $80,000 or something. Or I think... The point is they've re-indicted him or they've started the SEC thing. SEC, who for 10 years protected Bernie Madoff stealing $100 billion, I mean, David, that's how real it is, because Hollywood is the Edward Bernays mind control pageant system to say, oh, look, the icons say support global warming, support global tyranny, support taxes. All their icons are defecting to us, but they're all scared, literally under a political gun, threats on their life if they go public. Now, I've got to keep you another 20 because I got other subjects to get into, and I know you can do it. And we're going to let you go at about 35 after, David. And I appreciate your time, davidicke.com. But just hearing you say that, that's my experience. We've already won the hearts and minds of all these people. And go ahead.
Well, what comes out of this, Alex, is it's a decision. I mean, what you've just described about Hollywood, I completely agree with it. Is the microcosm of the macrocosm. It's a concentrated example of what's happening globally to the people. You know, there are people in government and all these different aspects of the system who are also threatened with loss of jobs, loss of earnings, IRS investigations, whatever, if they speak out or don't do what they're told to do. But it's this point where we stand at this fork in the road, and it's decision time. You know, and I would say to those people in Hollywood who have realized the game and are frightened because of the consequences, look at the consequences of not doing it, because the consequences of that is enslavement anyway.
They're already poisoning our food and water, David.
Anyway.
David, they're already poisoning our food and water on record. It's now admitted. I mean, we're already under attack. All we can do is fight.
Well, yeah, all we can do is step to the plate, step to the line, and say, I am not going to be intimidated anymore. If, you know, Mr. Spielberg or anyone else, I'll do this to you if you speak out. Well, do it, darling, because I'm speaking out. And what would happen if all these people you're talking about came out as one unit, got together, support in numbers and to an extent safety in numbers, spoke out not only about what they say is going on in the world from what they've now understood, but also spoke out about the intimidation. You know, I've said to people many times, whistleblowers and stuff have come to me, I said, you know, in so many ways you are in more danger when you know something, but the people don't know you know it. Because when something happens to you, no one asks any questions. You get these people coming out, famous people. This is what I'm saying. This is what I've been told will happen if I say it. Well, what's the system going to do? Are they going to make it a self-fulfilling prophecy and prove them right? And people go, my God, that's the last thing they're going to do, because that will alert more and more people to the fact that this is going on.
Exactly, David. That's why people ask, how is David Icke or Alex Jones or Ron Paul still alive?
Running straight at them, that's why. Running straight at them. It's what they don't want. Calling their bluff. Calling their lack of power that presents itself as all powerful.
Well, it's more than that, and I want you to speak to this. I passed the point of no return the day I stepped up 15-plus years ago. You passed the point of no return almost 20 years ago, and it is a spiritual decision. You feel the chains come off. The world opens up to you. You literally are so fulfilled that your life is so dynamic and filled with the energy of love in the universe that it is indescribable, and you leave the cave, Plato's cave, and come out into the light. And they know that, and if they kill David Icke or Ron Paul or Alex Jones or Jesse Ventura, it highlights, in fact, bring me a yellow highlighter. I want to show folks what I'm talking about. It highlights the headline. It underlines it. It puts 5 exclamation points. It shouts it out. And they've learned that when they kill an icon, what did Benjamin Franklin say? What did Thomas Jefferson said? He said that, you know, I mean, he talked about just committing to something and taking action and never giving in and never giving up, and that idea is unstoppable. In fact, I'm going to highlight this article right here. We're under attack, support alternative media and InfoWar. I mean, what happens when I highlight it? What happens? It stands out. If they kill us, it only gives more power to us, and as Thomas Jefferson said, the tree of liberty must be watered by the blood of patriots and tyrants. You know, fact is, I don't want to be fertilizer to defeat the New World Order. I think I'm doing more good alive than dead. But I've committed. I've said, whatever you're going to do it. But I've made the primal decision to set my entire will, my entire soul, my entire being against everything this dehumanization and this parasitic system represents. And it is that decision that is the equivalent of holy water and silver crosses to vampires. David Icke.
Well, it gives you enormous power when you commit yourself to something, and the consequences are not part of the equation. Because most people are not doing something because they fear the consequences. Will someone take me out? Will people ridicule me? Will I lose my job? Will I not get picked for the next big movie? And so that need, it's like that great line in that song, freedom's just another word for nothing left to lose. And it's not just about having nothing left to lose, it's choosing.
She says we have nothing if we ain't free.
Yeah, exactly. So it's making the choice to remove consequences from the equation of decision-making in terms of what you do.
And then you see the
what
lie. In fact, let me interrupt and give the full line. Freedom's just another word for nothing left to lose. And she laughs. Nothing. She says it's a joke. You're not giving anything up. You gain it all. Freedom's just another word for nothing left to lose. It's nothing. It's nothing if it ain't free. You don't have anything if you're not free. She laughs. It's a joke. Freedom's just another word for nothing left to lose. Ha! Nothing. Nothing if we ain't free. We ain't got nothing if we ain't got that.
Well, let's look at this from this point of view, from what we're talking about here. There you have people in Hollywood. They are known worldwide. They'll be recognized in almost any street in the world. They have the big house. They have fantastic amounts of money and wealth and stardom and all the rest of it. And they're not free enough to speak their truth. Why? Because they're concerned about the consequences. Consequences will always take your freedom away. Perceiving consequences for doing what you know to be right will always take your freedom away. And what the system is trying to do is put before you consequences. And if you don't make that choice of what are the consequences for me immediately, then they come along and you remind you. And they say, well, these are the consequences. This will happen. SEC, children, no films, and all the rest of it, to remind you of consequences. Why? Because they know that if you perceive consequences in part of your decision-making of do I speak my truth or not, then you will not be free to do that.
But let's talk about real consequences. If you give in to the chilling effect and intimidation, you will become a total slave, and the most evil people will take over the system via survival of the fittest, and you will be in a living hell.
How many people have put off and put off and put off doing what they know to be right because they fear the consequences, and then suddenly they hear the gate click behind them, and the time has passed that they can speak their truth any longer. And that's coming to the people who won't speak out if they don't start to do it. I mean, if these Hollywood stars who have seen the light, if you like, of what's going on in the world, if they got together and came out in unison